You're telling me the federal government would use violence and intimidation against its own people?
For exercising constitutionally protected conduct. Yeah.
Weird. I feel like that sounds more like communist, Russia or maybe like Nazi Germany or something like that. But I just had to bring that up because, with 4th of July coming up, that's a very important aspect to keep in mind with all the listeners to this story, is that these weren't a foreign government. These weren't a foreign power. This is your own law enforcement doing this to American citizens.
That are supposed to protect life, liberty, and
pursuit of happiness and property. Yeah.
Happiness, yeah.
But anyway, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Right.
I just had to get that out.
No, you're all right. I mean, it's 4th of July. These are. It's not lost on me that we were standing on a bridge, staring down an armed, what I would call an army, pointing guns at people exercising their constitutionally protected conduct. That's it is very relevant, and I think the media likes to portray that moment in time as the people rising up with guns and scaring the federal government into submission and leaving. That's not what happened, right? That the idea of us being able, we just heard the president say you can't do, that's not even possible, right? That they have F-15s and nukes, right?
Except for the insurrection that supposedly happened with no weapons at all. How does that happen?
Yeah, they can't have it both ways, can they?
No, they cannot.
They shouldn't be able to, at least. But the idea that what I'd like to talk about, and what I really like to talk about when I'm talking about this, is what put an end to it. Because for a moment, when they said we've been authorized to use lethal force and they've got guns and snipers and they're on Americans in a wash with their hands up, I was afraid, right? I took a defensive position. Now the media portrayed that as me, a sniper, they like to call me, and all this nonsense. But the reality of it is, and why I'm here talking to you today after 2 federal trials, is I took a defensive position after they said they were authorized to use lethal force.
And wasn't there over 70 gunmen from the feds there? Or something like that?
Oh, yeah. No, per the FBI in the discovery and the trials, there was about 125 rifles on the other side of that fence.
And how many were on your side?
There was 20, 25.
Wow. Yeah, you guys were the enemy at some, how does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and the narrative is that we drove them out of there, right? These 20 protesters. No, I wasn't in a militia. I'm not in a militia. I was an irritated electrician, right? So 20 people that are irritated and saying, "Hey, don't shoot us, don't shoot them." They've got their hands up and they're exercising their constitutionally protected right. Turned into this idea of a mass force of domestic terrorists running the federal government away from doing their job, right, obstructing. And that's not what happened at all. What I'm here to say, and the reason I was acquitted is the system worked that day. The sheriff's department came in and de-escalated the situation. After 10, 15 minutes of them pointing guns and telling everybody to get out of the wash or they were going to shoot them, the sheriff's department saw what was going on and came in their loafers and their uniform and walked up and they told those federal agents, listen, we're going to take the front of this thing. We need you to back out. And that's in video. Wow. That's on the discovery. Mm-hmm. And then they de-escalated the situation. The protesters at the fence, they said, hey, we're not going anywhere. And the sheriff said, we're not asking you to go anywhere. You have the right to be right there doing what you're doing, right? So once you removed this jurisdiction, once the separation of control and power was reapplied, you had peace, and you had de-escalation occur rather than what was occurring, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's what led me to the Center for Self-Governance, really, is that I witnessed the system work correctly. I watched it work incorrectly for a couple of days, for a week, and then I watched it work correctly. And so I've got an understanding of the way it's supposed to work when it works correctly.